Yes, it is Persian territory. I feel a little bit like Stephen Kay probably did some years ago when Stephen arrived in The Hague to represent Mr. Tadic, which I think was the first case tried at the ICTY. And again, as the first case, no doubt there was a blank canvas. Stephen was looking from the bottom of the mountain at the top of the mountain, the long way to go, no precedent, no jurisprudence, and that's where he found himself. I'm in a similar situation. You may have noticed from the PowerPoint behind me, I've entitled it The Issues, and I hope you'll forgive me. I somewhat changed the title for reasons that I hope you'll understand. I think I was originally asked to speak about the race for justice, false stance of race for justice. But I think I've been given 15 minutes, and so I'll try and crystallise my talk to you and deal with the issues that are currently affecting us. So I'm going to look briefly at the allegations that my client Assad Sabra faces. I'm going to deal with two of the key issues before the Lebanon Tribunal now, and then finish with some words about putting a team together, which I'm now in the middle of doing. Well, in terms of the allegations, a number of you may know that the tribunal is about the former Prime Minister of Lebanon, Rafik Hariri. And on the 14th of February 2005, as he was in a convoy of cars leaving Beirut, the car was exploded by a 2.5-ton explosive device, and that's the net result. There were 23, in fact, killed, and some nearly 300 injured in the explosion. And the tribunal has to consider the evidence that the prosecution bring, to consider the evidence, to conduct trials, to discover who was responsible for this assassination. Now, let's see. These are the four accused. The bottom right figure you see there is Assad Hassan Sabra. That's my client. I say it's my client. It's not a client I'm confident I may see, and it may well be that this is going to be the first time in international jurisprudence, I think since Martin Boyman Nuremberg, that there was a trial in absentia. But that gentleman on the bottom right is Assad Hassan Sabra. So what is he accused of doing? Well, he is accused with three others. Mr. Badruddin, who's said to be the overall controller of this attack on the 14th of February 2005. He's accused alongside Mr. Ayash, who's said to have coordinated an assassination team, and he's also a co-defendant with a gentleman called Onisi. All four are alleged to be Hezbollah members of an assassination team. And effectively, as the convoy of cars leaves Beirut, effectively 2.5 tons of equivalent of TNT caused the explosion, which caused the damage. And so the issue is whether the prosecution can prove the case against any of the accused. What's the evidence? Well, there is an indictment of some 40-odd pages long, which is a public document. You can see it's somewhat redacted. You can see the nature of the allegations against the four. And in short, the prosecution say that the case against them is circumstantial. They say that you can infer from the mainly the scientific and forensic and telecommunication evidence, particularly the cell site evidence, that these four were engaged as a team working, planning this attack which occurred in February 2005. In relation to Sabra, they alleged, also particularly discreetly, there's 75 minutes after the attack that he delivered a video to Al Jazeera and to Reuters in Beirut, alleging that a fictional fundamentalist group called Victory and Jihad in Greater Syria had executed the attack. So they're alleging discreetly against him in addition, he sought to lay a false claim of responsibility against others. It's right to say in a few minutes that over a number of years there have been various investigations and commissions looking into the Rafik Hariri assassination. Originally in the Syrians, a number of Syrian officials, as Stephen knows very well, came to be suspected as being involved, and then more recently 4 Lebanese generals were detained by the Lebanese authorities in connection with the investigation. One of the first tasks the Lebanon tribunal carried out was in fact to order the release of the 4 generals. So now we have a case where we have 4 accused, all said to be Hezbollah, and representing Hezbollah, the Secretary General, you see here, Hassan Nasrallah, has made very public comments about his view of the tribunal, and it's a matter of public record that you all know if you've been following it. Because effectively Hassan Nasrallah has made it clear his view that the tribunal is an American-Israeli conspiracy against Hezbollah and the Lebanon. So that's how he's put it. And in fact, in relation to cell sites, the Secretary General has gone on air with telecommunications experts from the Lebanon to explain how, on occasions, the Israelis have sought to infiltrate their telecommunications system. So there are some of the basic issues which the prosecution are alleging. In terms of what's happening in the tribunal now, well, as you've heard, it's very early days, certainly as far as I'm concerned, having been only appointed a couple of weeks ago. There are 2 key issues. In the court itself, the trial chamber met for the first time about a week ago, and in that hearing, the hearing was convened because the pre-trial judge, Judge Frentzen, asked the tribunal to consider whether it was appropriate to hear submissions on the in absentia situation. Obviously, for a number of months, there have been efforts being made, we are told, by the Lebanese authorities to try and identify, locate and apprehend the 4 accused. And there has been national and international advertising of their names, of the details of the case, which is all something the tribunal has to do. In the media worldwide, everybody's talking about it as if it's a fait accompli. Well, I can't read the minds of the judges, but a number of very learned academic commentators say that there will be a trial in absentia. We shall see. At this moment, all that's happened is that I have been appointed, along with some others, as duty counsel, and the trial chamber have had submissions from the prosecution and from the defence office. And what happened last week in the hearing was that the prosecution in effect said to the judges, the use of an in absentia trial is a very much exceptional act. It's an act of a last resort, and they sought some 3 months extra time to try and make further efforts to try and locate the accused. And in short, they reminded the judges that they cannot proceed to trial in absentia unless the judges are satisfied on the evidence that all reasonable steps have been taken, all the necessary steps have been taken, and due diligence completed. So we're really awaiting to see what the decision is. If there is a decision, they make a decision to proceed in absentia, it may well be that our role changes from duty counsel to assigned counsel. The other main issue that's affecting the tribunal, I say affecting it, this is more administratively. Although it's right to say, as Colleen has told you, that the defence are very fortunate to have very good facilities in the tribunal. In Francois, who's done an excellent job in putting together the facilities for the defence counsel and the defence teams. It's right to say that everybody will know that part of the funding for the tribunal comes from Lebanon itself, or it's meant to. because under the statute, 49% of the funding should come from the Lebanese government. And if you follow the Lebanese papers as I've been doing on a day-to-day basis, it's a topic of conversation in the Lebanon, because when the funding arrangement was agreed, a different government was in place, and you may know now that there is now a Hezbollah coalition government in Lebanon, and it certainly appears to be the case that the Secretary General is not so predisposed to agree to the funding of a prosecution which is alleged to have involved 4 of his own members. So, we shall see. Just let me deal with, I think I don't have so much time, with the in absentia point, because as I understand it, this will be effectively a world first in terms of proceedings. There is much controversy about holding a trial in absentia, and it's right to say there have been many commentators who have written very learned articles opposing such a course. We shall see what the judges do in due course. Proto Aru, in the recent hearing, reserved the right of counsel to make whatever submissions they wish to make. And of course I can't comment specifically on what I may do, but you may think there'll be substantial arguments in this area in particular. Some people say, well, it's inconsistent with the right to be present at your trial. Some say there are all sorts of practical problems with the statute. For example, has it really envisaged the situation where if it's closed down and there is a conviction against accused for trials in absentia, what happens if an accused is then apprehended? Is there any right of appeal? Is there any redress? If so, where? Also, others say, is there any provision in the rules for a situation where if there is a conviction and then an accused is apprehended and then there is a retrial, is there any provision as to which judges try that accused that may be apprehended? Can the original trial judges who have convicted an accused in absentia then go on to form the same constitution of the court for a retrial, having then convicted accused? There are many, many arguments, but others say, as somebody did recently on the internet, it's futile having, I won't name them, TDK, it's futile having proceedings. You don't even know if they're dead or alive, I think Mr. Kay's point was. You don't know if they're dead or alive. Counsel has no contact with the accused. Counsel has no instructions. Can it be right for a counsel to conduct proceedings in these situations? So there are all manner of interesting logistical issues for counsel to consider in due course. So finally, just a few words in relation to what it's like putting a team together, if I've got a few minutes. I don't. Perhaps I can steal 2. So the situation I now find myself in is that I'm putting a team together of some 8 to 10 people. I have a co-counsel who's a Swiss lawyer, Dr. Guillermo Matro. I am interviewing for case managers, legal officers, investigators, linguistic consultants, experts, interns and stagiaires. And there will be a whole range of experts instructed by me in due course. I'm having to deal with media training. I'm having to learn how to work alongside the victims' support, because the victims will have representation in court, which will be another situation for counsel used to practice in England. So these are some of the issues I'm having to deal with. And of course I'm co-defending with an excellent team of international counsel from France, from the Lebanon, from Egypt, from Canada, and so this is all. These are all the very real matters in front of me. All I can say is that whether or not Mr. Sabra is in Lebanon, it's right to say that we will defend his interests and his rights without fear or favour, whether he's there or not. Thank you.